moving on, let's listen to, oh, I forgot his name, Connor. Connor, he's going to talk some sense, right? Let's just listen.
This is all incredibly tiresome. What this is, as per usual, is throwing up the smokescreen of racism, bigotry, and implying that any action to reduce inflows of migration, legal or illegal, is tantamount to violence, which then implies that everyone from everywhere has an unmitigated right to relocate to Britain, to access its welfare state, to drain the taxpayer and the treasury of their largesse, and that if the settled indigenous population has any complaints about the fact that their demographics are changing at a dizzying rate, that their culture is being disfigured and rendered unrecognisable, that shops on their high street are closing down and in their stead questionable businesses are opening up, many sort of vape shops and supermarkets, as the BBC revealed recently.
And I will just say on this, there was an interview that I watched online, I can't remember the channel, but it was an American and he was in Birmingham. And he was walking around and he was getting frustrated with the fact that no one was speaking to him, and the people that he did try and talk to, number one, they would be quite antagonistic towards him, or they just didn't speak English. He eventually managed to get this car to stop, and it was an Indian guy in the car. And he was talking to him, and the Indian was saying, when he first came to the country, he had to live in these segregated ghettos, not because the English people hated them, it's just because they wanted to be around their own people. And as they've had more and more children and their families have grown, those ghettos have grown outwards, and now they control most parts of quite large, like most parts of major cities. It's not just the Indians, it's the Pakistanis, etc., etc. But he's saying with glee that he's very happy with this, the fact that these areas are growing and growing, and they're no longer pockets. They control very large parts of cities. Now, he said that India is his home. That's his home first. And the reason that he enjoys the idea of these areas growing is because he no longer feels homesick for India when he's creating India in the UK. And he also said that in the future, he believes very, very quickly, these pockets will no longer exist, because as they grow, they will simply subsume the entirety of the UK. And therefore, they will have a home away from home, a new home. He also said with a big smile on his face that in the future, the English themselves will be the ones that have to live in the pockets. That's the kind of people that are coming into our country. They know what they're doing. They know what's happening. And our government, as far as I can tell, guys, they know exactly what they're doing as well.
Being run by illegal migrants taking cash-only backhanders. Anyone who criticises this state of affairs is racist, and they will keep being called racist until they just accept that their doors are open to the Indian subcontinent and Africa.
And that we're talking billions of people. So just because you don't want to be called a racist, just because someone might call you a xenophobe or might say that you're not a very good person, are you? Right? Just because you don't want that to happen, you're willing to open the door to billions of people, a never-ending stream of immigration. It only takes a fraction of the amount of people in these countries to come to our country to completely swamp it. There's 256 million Pakistanis. There's 1.6 billion Indians. Those two countries alone, if just 5% of the people came to our country, that's more than our entire population. It's not feasible.
And the most tiresome exchange of this, as I posted on Twitter, was the argument between Asmana Begum, Shabana Mahmood, and Iqbal Muhammad in...
I will just say this very quickly. Shabana Mahmood is, I've said it on previous videos, she's leveraging herself or positioning herself to be one of the Muslims, because they need at least one voice out there that is supposed to be in support of the British people. It's a farce. She's saying that she's on the side of lower immigration, stopping the boats, on the side of the British people, while at the same time massaging the interpretation of the ECHR and creating new legal routes for her people from her homelands, okay? She is a wolf in sheep's clothing doing the opposite of what she promises.
In the aftermath of this announcement, Now again, Shabana Mahmood is going to increase the number of people eligible to be refugees and get direct charter flights to come into the UK. She's going to increase the number of people coming into the country. But both Begum and Mohammed argued that, one, a failure to address the wars in the Middle East which were displacing people was somehow the government being complicit in these people being forced to move to our country, and two, that they could not...
So they blame us for everything, whether we want this or don't want this, whether we're open to destroy our country or whether we're trying to fight against it. If we're open to it, then we need to accept it even harder. If we're against it, then we're just racist pieces of shit and we don't need to be listened to. Whatever the case is, in their eyes, it doesn't matter what you say. You're a bad person unless you allow them to take your country from you.
Imply that the countries that they sought to return these people to were safe. The criteria hadn't been published, and so it would be unjust to return anyone to their country of origin or to relocate them to a third-party country where they could wait until their country was determined safe. Now, I'm not going to engage with the merits of those arguments because those arguments would be made whether or not there were wars in the Middle East, whether or not these countries were safe, and all that ends up happening is our parliament is turned into a battleground for the ethnic grudges of the Indian subcontinent. These respective nations have their ambassadors in our parliament who are second-generation immigrants but are arguing on behalf of people who come from where their parents came from, who believe the same religions as them, and at no point in this process is the native population represented. I certainly don't feel represented when someone from Pakistan, someone from India, and someone from Bangladesh are all arguing over how they can import more of their fellow countrymen into my country. And you know what? The majority of the British public don't feel represented either, and so they're just sort of waiting out the next few years, or even earlier if an election is called, to get these people out of their parliament. The only problem is, and this is why I think Mahmood has forwarded this particular measure to sound like she's talking tough on migration. The only problem is...
I love that. Thank you. He's one of the only people that have pointed this out. The sinister tactic by Shabana Mahmood to come out and imply like she's going to tackle the problem of immigration, to set up a figure within the Muslim community that is supposedly on the side of the British working class, when in fact she's doing the very opposite behind the scenes.
They are more likely to be replaced by independent Muslim sectarian candidates, like Iqbal Muhammad, than they are a reform or a conservative, sensible conservative MP. So what we're going to get at the next election is either more Green Party or independent MPs sort of freaking out anytime someone tries to put forward a sensible immigration restriction measure, rather than the British people being represented in many places across their country. This is all...
Yep. We saw in the last election, those independent Muslim MPs just come out of nowhere, right? Because they vote on bloc, they know what they're doing. So we'll see a lot more of those, and hopefully it'll be a slap in the face and a wake-up call to the majority of people. But I think that if it keeps going like this, I don't think we've got another election after the next one. We need to start deporting these people immediately.